Wai'ale'ale watershed, according to the staff submittal. If the goal of watershed management plans are to maintain healthy watershed function and restore biological integrity, as stated on page 2 of D-11, how can a water management plan share cost formula consider the 100% diversion of all the water of, quote, Wai'ale'ale and Waikoko? 14 MGD flows from the Alakai. 14 are used by KIUC as stated in Exhibit A. All four of the watershed share costs of $79,833.58 for 100% consumption of the stream. The desiccation of Wai'ale'ale and Waikoko stream has great impact on the health of our forest and has great impact on the experiences of cultural practitioners and tourists. The staff submittal gives no rationale for the, quote, 74 MGD median stream flow for East Kauai Water Users Co-op, which uses the same 14 MGD median stream flow source from, quote, Wai'ale'ale and Waikoko streams, end quote, from the ditch. The staff submittal also gives no rationale for the inclusion of median stream flow data for Hanalei and Wai'aniha rivers. The headwaters drain over 7 miles north in different hydrologic units, different aquifers, instead of using other, more closely nearby rivers, which originate close to the headwaters of Wai'ale'ale and Wailua. And I got some pictures in my testimony that kind of explain the Alakai, Wai'ale'ale, Waikoko streams and Olokele headwaters are way more closer than Hanalei and Wai'aniha. I find it of particular interest that Wai'aniha is mentioned in this watershed management plan cost share conversation, as the 4 megawatt hydropower plant on Wai'aniha River does not have a revocable permit for water use or a water lease application. Would KIUC, who purchases the power, also be responsible for permitting the Wai'aniha hydro plant? Who would pay the watershed management plan share costs for Wai'aniha, KIUC who buys the power, or A&B who owns the plant? I am also concerned about the lease application by Jeff Lidner for the wells in the Molowa'a Forest Reserve. Even though the water use is small, 0.15 MGD, it is from a falling aquifer in Koloa Volcanics that supposedly has a sustainable yield of 17 MGD. It sells this water. What this share cost does not reflect is that this area is the only, quote, developed area of Kauai that does not have any county potable water service available for residences. All the farms and residences from Aleomanu, just north of Anahola, to past Waipake are on wells. All ag land with no ag or potable water except for wells. Molowa'a stream flow diminished because of an unpermitted illegal diversion. The aquifer dropped and the wells are being drilled deeper. Some wells by the bay are sucking salt already. A private commercial production well is being drilled in the Molowa'a Hui lands, but nobody is considering the cumulative impacts to the groundwater table from all this water extraction. There is no watershed management plan. There's a forest management plan, not a watershed management plan. The water Jeff Lindner is now selling could impact the water availability for the DHHL land in Molowa'a, which is now classed as pastoral because it has no water available. There is no reservation for water for this DHHL land. Elite gentlemen farmers nearby have higher water needs than us regular folks. Zuckerberg has 9 wells and 15 water meters for his family. I don't believe this water from the State Forest Reserve should be sold by Jeff Lidner to farmers, but the $255.95 a day for watershed management is way too low. This forest has rapid ohia death, ROD, both kinds, the slow kind and the fast kind. This management priority needs way more funding than $255.95 a day. A watershed management plan would shine the light on the dewatering of the aquifer for DHHL lands and the need for rapid response to protect ohia. On Kauai, the only watershed management plans are for Hanalei and Wai'ale'ale. It's ridiculous to develop a share cost formula before there is a watershed management plan detailing water protection. It's impossible to develop a watershed management plan if in-stream flow standards are not established. And then I went into HRS 17158E, I think that's been pretty covered. But really I wanted to address Board Member Ewan's about Mr. Lidner's well. And on the first page of my testimony, I have a picture and a quote by Ralph Hosmer, who was one of the first territorial foresters, and he says, "In Hawaii, the most valuable product of the forest is water rather than wood." And the Wai'ale'ale Forest Reserve, the object of this reserve is to protect and preserve the forest on the steep slopes that can be used to better economic advantage for growing forests than any other economic purpose. There is not much water on these slopes, but what water there is of high value. Wai'ale'ale rounds out the block of forest land on the north side of Hawaii and completes the chain of reserves around Mount Wai'ale'ale. And in the Kealia Wai'ale'ale Forest Management Plan, it says, assist in maintaining the present desirable conditions of regular flow in the streams, retention of at least part of the stormwater. Ralph Hosmer said that in 1906. So exporting all this water out of our forests. Wai'ale'ale Forest Reserve is a low elevation forest reserve, and it's really important to look at this application for a water lease by Mr. Lidner and the impacts it has, cumulative impacts on the groundwater table. And I honestly don't see this reflected in this staff proposal. I'm also very concerned that water lease applicants and their lawyers will attempt to exempt the lease process from conservation district use permitting. The IUC has told its members repeatedly that they will begin their environmental studies after they get their 65-year lease. They do not have the authority to evade HRS 17158 and 343. They have alleged they are exempt from 343 and the requirement to obtain a conservation district use permit. They do not return the waters of Wai'ale'ale and Waikoko to state land as requested in the lease conditions, and rather they deliver it to Grove Farm, who processes 3 million gallons a day for sale as drinking water. The formula is intended to exclude, the cost share formula for the watershed management plan is intended to exclude 30% of the cost share payments to DHHL and the 20% to OHA. The decades-long holdover of RPs has excluded lease payment revenues to DHHL and OHA without consideration of economic impacts to these protected peoples. There are way too many problems presented with this cost share formula for this board to vote on now. Please reject this staff submittal until it is way more complete.